Welcome to the Cinefied podcast, the show where we enlighten you on what film to watch next by discussing the latest projects brought either to the silver screen or the comfort of your home. Today, we are discussing the festival favorite, Together, a body horror film that tackles the horror of codependency and relationships as a whole in a brutal fashion that won't be for the squeamish. Years into their relationship, Tim and Millie find themselves at a crossroads as they move to the country, with tensions already flaring. An encounter of an unnatural force threatens to corrupt their lives, their love, and their flesh. Kyle Wolf, who is here with us, gave us a positive review on the site Cinefied.com and said, Together is a strange, intimate, and effective horror film that lingers. It's creepy, unique, and anchored by strong performances that make the descent into madness feel earned. Whether you're drawn in by the body horror, the emotional unraveling, or just seeing two actors stretch into unexpected territory, it delivers. So I will be moderating this panel. I am Connor Petrie. We got Trevor Lavelle. We got Peter Gray, Kyle Wolf, and Allison Franco. So let's go ahead and go down the line, and I'll start with you, Trevor. What are your spoiler-free thoughts?
I thought it was a very fun time, though be it I thought I could have used a little more, especially in the third act, to where I feel like it doesn't really come across as layered as the film wants to be, though it is still a very fun ride way to the end. I think Bree and Franco are really fantastic, knowing their real life relationship before going in, and kind of knowing their Hollywood power couple status. It's a fun time and doesn't really get in the way of their drama, which I think is really fleshed out, really interesting. And although I think its comments on codependency are pretty obvious and maybe a little simplified, I do think this is a really fun, gnarly ride that is a really great time all around.
All right, thanks. And Peter, your thoughts?
I'm very happy that it's proving that Australians make good horror, because sometimes I think we were left out of that conversation. No, I had a blast with this one. Like, as soon as I heard about it out of Sundance, I was like, I need to see this. I flew to a whole other state to see this early at a film festival. Yeah, like, it obviously, like, you know, it's not being subtle with the way that it talks about codependency and things like that, but I think it's a great way to blend human drama, relationship drama, body horror, and it's also incredibly funny. I think that's another thing that's kind of not people are going to be expecting. And having Dave Franco and Alison Brie, like, it just makes where we get more emotionally invested, because we know that, like, we know these couple, we like these two people together, so you kind of want to see them succeed, however that plays out on screen. So yeah, I think it's just another great step forward in body horror, but proof that the horror genre does metaphors and commentary really, really well.
All right, thanks, Peter. And Kyle, your thoughts?
Yeah, this is like one of the best horror movies of the year. I hadn't even heard the Sundance reaction out of it when I caught this at South by, and I was just so on board the moment I walked out. It isn't subtle with the codependency aspect, but I don't really know that it was trying to be or needs to be. It's I had a blast with this movie. It's probably still going to make my like top 5 or top 10 of the year. The ending, like the third act, does get a little fragmented and not as layered, as it could be, but I don't know. It's been a couple months since I've seen this movie, but it lingers with you, like from the moment you walk out. So I'm just excited for audiences to get to see an actual like horror, like body horror movie, and it's different. It's going to test, audiences or your patience or whatnot, but it's strong performances all around, and I don't know, I just had a great time with it. I loved this movie.
And Allison, what do you think?
I think I share the same sentiment as Kyle. I was watching this, and there's been a lot of noise around this movie, but the marketing has been fantastic. I don't know if you guys follow Neon on any of the social media, but like every other day they're posting like memes of either the couple together or other couples together, and they're like together. See it August 1st. And so like I've kind of been quietly like unsure how I was gonna feel about the movie. Despite like some of the reaction, and I'm a big horror body fan, but at the same time, I've been skeptical. I'm like, nobody does it better than Cronenberg. But I was blown away, and when I say I agree with Kyle, I mean like, but literally it might be my favorite movie of the year right now, which is insane. And probably whoever heard the last episode heard me like kind of crap on Fantastic Four and be like, what's this guy's taste in movies? But this movie had me hooked from the get-go, from that first scene with the dogs, which we will talk about. Of course, I don't want to talk too much spoilers till the very end. And I think I share the same sentiments too with like the third act, but not so much that it doesn't end up feeling as layered, but I feel like they do too much at the end. Well, I was kind of on board with not fully understanding what was going on. Like I think the movie would have been fine without that. But despite that, like absolutely love this movie. Love Dave and Allison. Love their chemistry. Love the fact that they're actually in a relationship beyond this. So I think it speaks volumes to like the how deep the themes go. But yeah, loved it.
Thanks, Dempsey. My thoughts are very much in line with all of you. I think that it's a really well done horror film. I think it's definitely going to be up there at the top of the list by the end when it comes to horror, especially. I think Allison and Dave are just terrific on screen. I was very cautious about their casting because I was not a huge fan of the last time they appeared together in a horror film, which was The Rental. I actually thought that this film was directed by Dave going into it at South by Southwest, and then I learned quickly it was Michael Shanks, which, I mean, Michael Shanks did a terrific job with the tension here. I think he really delivers the gruesome body horror, and I definitely, while I do, as I said, put it very much at the top for the year. I don't know if it's a film that I could see myself going back to very often, but that's just me with body horror in general. Like I admire and respect the films like The Substance, but because of how gruesome they can get, it kind of halts me from going to see it multiple times. I mean, I fully recommend at least people going to see it once and getting a feel for it, because it's definitely a bizarre experience worth having. So going from there, let's just go ahead and get into spoilers. So if you're listening or watching right now, just stop, go see the film. I believe we all recommend it to some capacity, and I highly recommend going out and before continuing on. So I'll give you a 3, 2, 1. All right. As Kyle briefly mentioned, it's like he saw it at South by Southwest. I also saw it at South by Southwest. That was a couple months ago. So some of the minor details of the film have not stuck with me as much, while the bigger moments definitely have. So I would like, out of all of you, Peter, you said you saw it at a film festival. How long ago did you see it at a film festival?
So it was the beginning of June. Okay. That it played at the Sydney Film Festival. I was then because I interviewed Michael Shanks, so I was given a screener, and then I saw it again last night with a group.
Oh, so you're fresh.
I'm fresh because it was just one of those movies that I wanted to see again, and I knew that there'd be people I could take that would appreciate it. So yeah, basically there was like two couples watching this movie last night, which was kind of even more interesting to sort of see.
It was appropriate.
See how people reacted. But no, yeah, but when it was playing at Sydney Film Festival, it was like the opening night movie, and at that point it didn't have a release date in Australia. So I was like, look, I don't care if I'm spending however many hundreds of dollars to fly to another state to see this movie, that is what I'll do. And then like, you know, a week later, it was like, Together's coming out July 31st. And I was like, okay, cool. So,
Well, I definitely, and well, first, Trevor and Dempsey, you saw it. I know, Dempsey, you saw it today. Trevor, and you saw it last night, correct? With Naked Gun double feature. So I am curious because I mentioned how I do think that this is going to be one of those films that ends up being towards the top of the list. Do you guys share that sentiment that you believe that it'll be in like people or really your own personal top 10 of horror for the year?
It's not my personal top horror of the year. I really loved Bring Her Back from the Philippou brothers. I thought that was a massive step up from their debut Talk to Me. And as far as like just nutty third acts go, I thought the third act to Bring Her Back was really, really wild, and it really ends on a very emotional note for the main characters that I really loved. I also really loved Final Destination Bloodlines. We're back with that, baby. We're back with Final Destination. I had a blast with that. And this one, I kind of compare it to the Coralie Farge's The Substance from last year, which was my second favorite movie of last year. So probably my favorite horror movie from last year as well. And so I think about comparing to that. I feel like that movie was more shameless in what it was. I guess it was shameless in being unsubtle. Like that's about as subtle as a kick to the face. That movie, and so like comparing it to this, I didn't mind it being pretty heavy-handed, but it still felt pretty repetitive to me. Coming up to the third act though, where it's finally everything's making sense, the whole puzzle pieces were pretty easy to put together, and I feel like it plays a little too coy with itself too. That's why I feel like, to me personally, that's why it's not as high on my list as the other horror movies that I've seen this year. Still really enjoyed it. I'll watch it with a group of friends on Halloween, and really just have a fun time with it all over again.
Anybody else? How would it rank on your guys' top 10? Dempsey?
Yeah, so like I said, I think this is my favorite movie of the year so far. But big disclaimer, you probably heard my child crying in the background. I have a newborn. So I missed like a huge chunk of like the movies that everybody loved. Like my wife was still pregnant when Bring Her Back came out. She went into labor when 28 years later came out. Like all these other horror movies and big movies that I know that I'm gonna love, that I have yet to see. But I'm gonna watch them eventually. But yeah, I was just fascinated by like how well written this movie was, how well executed it was. Like I said, the chemistry. I wish Cassie was here because I just want to say that. Was it me, or does that one guy look like Pedro Pascal got togethered himself? Because I was like, oh my god, Pedro Pascal is technically in this movie. For when I first saw him, I was like, oh shoot, like this would be great to like do banter with, or banter about, because I was like, this guy literally looks just like Pedro Pascal.
And for those that have not listened to previous episodes of Cassie, she is a huge admirer of Pedro Pascal in every regard. So that's why Dempsey brings that up.
Oh yeah, she was on both the Eddington and the Fantastic Four episode, wasn't she?
Yes, she was.
Yeah. And then we were talking about how Weapons, well, he was supposed to be in Weapons, and I'm watching this and I'm like, oh my god, he's technically kind of in this, because he looks like I said, it looks like he got, bodies fused with some other person. But anyway, I digress. I'm just joking, obviously. But this movie was just so damn good. And I know we'll talk about like some of our favorite moments, but I also feel like some of the scariest parts in this movie weren't even the body horror scenes. Like I like the bathroom scene was the most suspenseful of the entire movie. I was like on the edge of my seat.
I think that's the best part of the movie.
Right? Like I was just like, what is going? Because you kind of
Like-
think you know what's going on, but
Like the coverage is so out there that the camera movements that Michael Shanks really sets up in that kind of set piece just kind of makes the whole mystery of what's happening to them so compelling.
I love having now seen the film, how heavy that scene in the bathroom stall is used in the marketing, where she's just like, I'm so sorry and whatnot. And they're like, but you don't know 100% they're in a bathroom stall, you know, in that trailer moment and TV spot moment. But I'm just like, when she just rips apart from him, yeah, that's brutal. But what about you, Peter? Would you say this is towards the top of your list?
It's towards the top of the list. Yeah, like to me, Sinners is still the top movie of the year.
Oh yes, dire mistake to forget about Sinners on my end.
Yeah, that's probably still my number one. But together's you know, lingering in the top at the moment. I think put it behind like not a horror movie, but Twinless is a movie that I'm barracking for. But in terms of horror, in terms of horror, it's like it'll probably be in the top 5 of the year. But I also have to sing the praises of Bring Her Back. Again, Australians, we do things well. But it was interesting talking to Michael about Together, because so much of what happens, he's like basically, this is my relationship with my partner playing out on screen. And he's like, the thing about the rats, he's like, that is a real story. Like my dad found rats in my bedroom. And the bathroom scene, obviously he was like, that was a very tricky scene to do, because he's like, we have one prosthetic penis, and it's like, that scene's got to be executed perfectly. And he said that's why having Allison and Dave is like crucial, because he's like, you needed to make this movie with a real life couple. He's like, purely for the fact that you've got these two people, actors, literally fused together. And he's like, if you need to know your co-star in a very intimate way for this to work. So he's like, if Dave's going to the bathroom, Allison's going to the bathroom with him. So I think that just comes into play with how good Dave and Allison are together. But yeah, Michael, I'm just so excited to see what he does next, if this is the way that he sort of like introduces himself, and the fact that he just like injected so much of his personal story into it. And fun fact, he is the missing hiker in the photo. So there you go.
Oh, a little Easter egg there for all going into the film. And Kyle, what about you? How would you rank it?
It's absolute, like I said, it's absolutely going to make my top 10 at the very least. I mean, we still got, like Weapons next week. I know we're all pretty pumped about that. And there's still a couple months left in the year, so we'll see what happens. But see it easily making my top 5 at the very least, top 10. This could very well end up being the best horror movie of the year. We'll just have to see. Touching on a little bit of what Peter said there, I don't know if you remember this, Connor, but when we were at South by, and the director Michael Shanks came out with Alison Brie and Dave Franco at the end, and they were kind of like talking about the movie and like, getting it made and everything. You can tell like that this was a passion project, and it's made with love and a lot of hard work. Michael Shanks actually said that after seeing The Rental, which you had brought up earlier, Connor, that's what prompted him to, I believe he said it was like what prompted him to send the script over to Dave, because he had never seen him in horror before, and he thought he would be good. Also, of course, Dave Franco and Alison Brie's chemistry in this movie is really good. And Peter's right. Like, you can't do that without, being comfortable with each other, especially when you're going to be, stuck together essentially. And Dave and Allison mentioned the scene near the end in the kitchen where Allison had to sit on his lap for like hours. And about how, like, you would imagine anyone would be excited to have Allison Brie sitting on your lap, but he was just kind of like over it after hours. Just that was pretty funny. But yeah, I love this movie. It's still one of the best horror movies that I've seen this year, and I don't know that that'll change much before the end of the year.
Gotcha. Well, thanks for kind of ranking it among the other films of the year, all you guys. And I am curious about the favorite moments of the film. If there's any moments that really kind of like stood out as something that made you kind of like squirm, or I don't know what all of your connection are with body horror in general, but what was a standout moment in this film for each of you guys? Let's start with Peter.
One, honestly, like, I think because it's a scene that kind of encapsulates drama, comedy, and horror together. The scene where, like, they've realized how that they need to be separate from each other, and it's starting to draw them closer, and like, so they sleep in the separate bedrooms, and then they wake up and they're both literally being like forced out of their bedrooms across the floor, and Alison Brie's body like contorts the way it does, and then they do the whole thing of like, well, we need to have Valium, and he's like, it's, you call it diazepam now. Like, that reaction in the cinema was like everyone was like, oh, you guys are locked in to this, because everyone was like laughing, and then you just sort of just go, we need to snort it, that's the best way. Like, that whole scene is just masterful, and how it sort of pulls off the tone that this movie wants to have. Like, it's like, we're allowed to laugh with this movie. We're aware that this is kind of ridiculous. So I think that's probably one of the standouts. But and also I think the Spice Girls and Needle Drop is kind of like, no other song works better than what they choose here. So yeah, but I think the diazepam scene's kind of a standout, just because I think that's when the movie shifts and really just goes, okay, we're going to go for a lot of crazy shit now. So yeah. I think that's probably the top choice.
In that moment, similar to what you were saying with the audience laughing, I might be incorrect, but because I was pretty tired at the time of our showing, because it was a midnight showing at South by. But I do think that our audience also had a pretty good chuckle with the snorting the drugs off the floor. And yeah, I personally, there's a moment in the film that, having gone in almost entirely blind, apart from a few reactions from Sundance, the part with them in the bed and Allison's like, you're on my hair, and then you get that brief kind of shot of the hair like down his throat before they start like pulling it out. I mean, that is just a horrifying shot, and it's just has, like, it's not anything like any other shots really in the film to do with like the hair and everything, and it just stands out to me. It's just such a horrific way. But one of my big faults of the film, and you guys might find maybe a reasoning behind it, and maybe it's a deeper meaning with the film, but I don't really see a reason for the kind of more generic kind of like I can't think of when the horror just kind of jumps out at you. A jump scare moment where like it's a pan in on his mom, and then he like covers himself up, and then she pops up. I don't really get the purpose of really involving the parent storyline. I get that like that's a horrific thing that he went through, and so I just am curious. Dempsey, go ahead.
I wondered the same thing, and I think it isn't until he goes to the doctor where they first prescribe him the medicine that it becomes inherently clear that, you know, we know what's happening. We know that something supernatural is happening. But that's when he actually starts to second guess himself, because as it's slowly revealed that his family has a history of mental illness, and he's like, crap, you know, maybe like he says, I'm not like my parents, but his face is like, holy crap, I might be like my parents. That's the one part of the movie. And like, I've seen Dave Franco in a lot of things, and I think like his performance here really like is like probably his best, because of how well he sells it, that he kind of is scared. Everything he was scared that was going to happen when he left home is kind of manifesting in all the worst way possible, in the worst way possible to him, but not literally the worst way possible, which it ultimately ends up happening as. So that was my understanding to that. I know what you mean, like with the scene with the jump scare, but I think that the inclusion of the parents is to kind of illustrate that, so that we understand the kind of anxiety he's already going through before he faces the physical anxiety, if that makes sense.
Okay, and we'll just stick with you. Well, Peter, you had yours unmuted. Were you going to say something?
I just think I think the parent, like, I think it includes also to show like, just like, I think that's why Dave Franco's is so dependent on Alison Brie as well. I think we sort of see that, what the relationship that he saw with his parents, and that I don't know, it kind of like, it could be something that I read more into than not, but you kind of get the sense that like his character, like Tim, he's only had like, his whole life is Millie. Like, he does say like, I don't remember what things were like before you, sort of thing. And I just sort of get that sense that when you see the photo of him and his parents, like, he was obviously just very, very close to his parents. And then when they passed away, and obviously how he was like, my mum was in the bed with my dad for however long. Like, I think it's showing that, like, that cycle of codependency. And it's like the same thing with, he realizes maybe he is more like his parents than he wants to be. And so that's why he's the one that's so much more, I feel like he's more drawn to Millie than she is to him, even though she needs him as well. But yeah, I just think the parents' inclusion, like, is one of those things that takes time to reveal itself. And then you realize, okay, this is why. But the jump scare, I also think the jump scare is kind of like, well, we need some horror elements in here, so let's just do something like that. But there is, I do think it's something that gradually reveals itself.
Okay. Trevor?
I do feel like it kind of goes deep into the metaphor, because I feel like the most important metaphor in that story is the rat cooking on the desk lamp, because because it lands on like, I was slowly cooking it alive, that I couldn't smell it rotting. And it kind of goes into that metaphor of codependency, and it goes even a step further in it with his parents, because I feel like it reveals that the parents were codependent as well. And, you know, when you lose that other partner you're so emotionally dependent on, the movie is basically saying that you're losing a major part of yourself. And it may be so far gone that you may have forgotten how to be yourself. So again, it's kind of like the rats cooked so much in that relationship, and then it's not there anymore.
And go ahead, Dempsey.
Sorry, one last thing, because I was literally, I wanted to find a way to bring this up before, but I think it's a good time to mention it. And the film plays with the idea of codependency in a bunch of different ways. I think it plays on the audience's perception of this third Pedro Pascal. I don't know the guy's real name. I'm so sorry. He's introduced, and immediately you get, this guy's coming on to her. He's clearly going to be some sort of threat in their relationship. And so we kind of depend on that idea that he's going to be some force to be reckoned with, or things are not going to end well because of this guy. But then when she goes to his house and she sees the picture of the other guy, his husband, and he starts to talk to her about his husband, you're disarmed. You're like, oh, well, no, we were wrong. He has nothing to do with this at all. And then, as you come to find out later on,
you were actually, your initial instinct was totally right. So I like the way that it in more ways than one, the movie like kind of plays with your idea of what to expect from a movie like this. That's all I wanted to say.
Yep. And Trevor, I'll get you in a second. The actor you keep referring to, his name is Damon Harriman.
Sorry,
Really?
Damon.
I was like David Harriman. I was like Charles Manson in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood for people that don't know, and House of Wax. He's an incredible Australian actor. So yeah, I was like,
Honestly,
he was also in Better Man earlier this year.
Don't
Was
forget
he?
he played Charles Manson twice for
Yeah,
Mindhunter and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, which is just badass. I mean, and he's so good at that in that role too. Sorry.
Which I feel like they brought that up on stage during the Q&A that he played Hanson twice, and not sorry Manson twice, and he they basically, I feel like there's such a big difference between that character that's obviously based on a real life person and this character that I like. When they brought that up on stage as like a comment, I was like, what are they talking about? And then I was like, oh, he played those characters or that person. But I am kind of the way that this film goes about kind of the I'm trying to think of, there's a bunch of like little points in the film that kind of made me kind of second guess where the film was going to end up. And I am kind of curious about, there's a moment near the beginning where they fall into the cave and then they drink the water. And then the water, and this is just me genuinely asking, because that seems to be the theme of the podcast, is me asking questions to my team about the movie. The water, it's actually playing a part in the bonding of the two people, or is that something else? Because he states that that's where the church caved in, and I imagine that church had a big thing. But does the water have anything to do with this? Because we do see the dog, but go ahead, guys. Whoever wants to start. I'll pick Kyle.
Dude, honestly, I don't know if the water has anything to do with it or not. So also, this is a movie that, in my opinion, is more than, Peter's seen it twice. I haven't, but I just think that this movie is one that you're going to appreciate after you've seen it, on rewatch. I mean, you're going to pick up little subtle things that you didn't catch necessarily the first time. I remember walking out of this movie, and after like 5 minutes of discussing it, it like hit me, and I asked Connor, I was like, wait, did we ever figure out what the whole opening scene with the dogs were and everything? And then you explained it, and I was like, oh my God, yeah, that makes so much sense. But that opening scene, ironically enough, is one of the cool lingering scenes, one of the cool scenes that like lingers with you. Like I can't forget like the vibe and tone, and how different that was, the way this movie opens. It's unexpected too.
Trevor?
So I feel like the water's kind of explained more in the third act with the Play-Doh metaphor, the two-faced spider person thing. Because I think it's kind of established that the fountain is like placed right under it. So I kind of view it as like a fountain of youth kind of explanation that didn't need to go further into.
Okay, gotcha.
I will say on rewatch, the water definitely is like a part of it, because it was quite interesting when Alison Brie goes to visit Damon Harriman to sort of talk about get the makeup for the bathroom scene, and she's trying to explain herself. He offers her a glass of water, so he's kind of like already like he can sense like he senses the relationship between them, and he's like, this will be the best thing for this couple. So the fact that he kind of offers her a glass of water is like his way of starting to bring her into it. So it is one of those films that on rewatch there are so many little things that like sort of, I guess you can sort of see how much of the foundation is laid for the film to sort of play the way it does. So yeah, I took the same thing with the water, that it's all part of the ritual that we sort of see that video show us towards the end. And the fact that, when you see the photo of Damon Herriman and his partner, they are actually like, it's not like it is Damon Herriman, but like they've obviously altered his face just enough so that way it is believable that it's two people mashed together. So yeah, it's it is. I can definitely recommend that a second viewing sort of brings about a lot more appreciation for the film as well.
It's the second film of the year that has like a video in a dark room that confused me at the time of watching, because you got to bring her back as the most confusing ritual like instruction manual ever. And this scene, that whole twist at the end, it's the part of the film that I do think that, even though I have kind of mentioned that I don't really like to repeat watched body horror, but I do think that I will give this at least one more watch, just so I can have elements like that third act really sinking and see if it works better for me. Because definitely on the first watch, I kind of figured, kind of like what one of you mentioned, it kind of like, I think it was Dempsey, it kind of makes you second guess thinking he's going to be the bad guy. And then when it becomes the bad guy, you're like, it seems kind of just thrown in at the last second, but it's really, throughout the whole film, they're hinting at it. So I just, how did you guys feel about that, the third act, like in general? Like, were you on board for that twist, or did you think that it was kind of like thrown in? Dempsey, go ahead.
I liked it. I thought it was a cool way to like I said earlier, to subvert your expectations. The only thing, and I forgive me if one of you guys already kind of spoke on this, because I know we said we were still, the jury's still out. We know that something in the water causes this, but like I didn't get, like, there's a scene where Dave Franco's back in the cave at the end, before he runs into that thing, where he's holding the flashlight, and you see the faces kind of fused in with the chapel. And so that threw me off, because I'm like, okay, the movie's about people being fused together with each other. So how did this happen? Like that's the only time in the movie where I was kind of questioning. I was like, okay, like, so what the hell is actually happening here? But other than that, it didn't feel thrown together. I was just, I don't know. I guess it wasn't what I was expecting. But then when you look back, and you think back to that time where she's in his house, it's almost like he's trying to tell her. Where he gives her the speech about the what he tells his students, when he's like, "Oh, I've been meaning to find a reason to watch my wedding video," right? Like that's what came to me when she came back and it was playing on the screen. I was like, "Oh, I think he wanted her to know from the get-go," but she was just kind of trying to figure things out herself, that she wasn't paying attention, and so that's why I think the movie will, like Connor said, be more rewarding upon rewatch.
Go ahead, Trev.
I felt ending makes sense. I guess this kind of explains why I prefer body horror, like The Substance, or like maybe like Cronenberg's Videodrome is kind of, that's my favorite, and John Carpenter's The Thing. Those are probably my three body horrors that I can think of on the top of right now, which are kind of go the avenues I prefer narratively. And I feel like what I want from Together's third act is just from a entirely different movie than they wanted to make. And that's fine, of course. It's fine the way it is. But I feel like at the end of the movie, what I get just isn't enough for me to chew on, because it tells you from the get-go that, oh, this is kind of what it's about, and this is kind of what's happening, and then it happens, and then it's time to go home. And for me, I kind of felt like it's just peanuts to me a little bit, to where I'm just like left little niblets, but I'm just like I need a little more subtext, I guess, or substance.
Kyle, what do you think of the third act?
I think it has its issues, but I don't think it's enough. It's not, enough for it to be super problematic for me or make me, not want to rewatch it or anything like that. I think I don't know, maybe could have used just a little bit more time or build up surrounding it, but um, I don't know. Ultimately it works for me. My thing is that when it happened and we're walking out of the movie and everything, like the only thing I could think about is like, I don't know that all audiences are going to be on board with that, or that that ending is, going to satisfy everybody, but I want everybody to fucking watch it. So, overall, it has its little problems, but it, it brought it home fine for me. Um,
I think
that,
the
and
ending. I
yeah,
think the ending would have had a better little punch, comedic punch almost, if they would have opened the door and then introduced themselves as this new, one that they are, and then have the parents pass out or something like that. Just go over the top, and it just kind of ends with like, "Hi,"
I
but
forgot how funny that this movie is, honestly, until Peter mentioned it like towards the beginning of the podcast. That hit me like a brick. I was like, oh my god, I forgot. Yeah, like our audience had a great time with it. There's a lot of great comedic moments, but it's not like too much. It actually balances the horror, the body horror, like the drama, the suspense, and all that, like really well.
was there any moment that you guys felt may have like gone too far in your like personal taste? Like with the, I think it's very popular sequence in the trailers and even the poster that I did not choose for the video format of the eyeballs connecting. I was not cool with that shot.
Oh.
So was there anything that made you like really kind of go, Trevor?
I mean, as a horror fan, I like to feel like that. It's just like at the moment I like to feel too far, but I don't feel like the movie ever really goes to that point. Maybe not even, it doesn't go far enough for me personally, but I still think it really gets some really cool shit in there. My favorite set piece, like body horror wise, is just the whole makeup of them fusing together. I thought that was just brilliant.
Yeah, it's just definitely that moment at the end as they're coming together. It's definitely full of shock value to me. Just kind of like, and yeah, I mean, uh, the it's just the throughout the film, you just have so many awesome moments of their awesome, brilliant chemistry between Dave and Allison. And it's really, as I mentioned going into it, it's just kind of like these two being in horror doesn't really come to the top of my mind. And so I was wary about their casting, but I do think that, I mean, I don't know if there's really anybody else that comes to mind that would better fit this film. So I think this is a perfect couple role for them. I think that it's a fantastic, like just my introduction to Michael Shanks. I don't know if he's done. Peter, has Michael Shanks done other films prior to this?
So this is his debut. Like
Debut?
he's obviously made like short films and videos and things like that. But yeah, this is his introduction to the world, and you sort of think, all right, well, if this is how you say hello to everybody, then yeah, I'm like, my hope is that, like, because this was low budget movie. Like he admitted that, like, you know, this he had wasn't as grand as I think people expect, and I sort of think I really hope that people turn out for it this weekend, because unfortunately now movies live or die off of opening weekend. But I feel like the low budget will help it have profitability, and I sort of think like this is the kind of guy that we want to see where he goes from here, whether he continues in the horror genre, like, you know, like the Philippou brothers, or if he pivots into something else. But you look at it and just go, well, in this we see how he handles comedy, we see how he handles drama. There's some incredible, like, the way that he maneuvers the camera at certain points. You sort of think like, act like, you know, what would this guy do with like an action movie sort of thing. So I'm hopeful that we see a good response this weekend, and Michael Shanks gets the next thing, because he, you know, if this is what you do first up, then, you know, incredible. And yeah, I'll keep supporting Australian horror, because we do it really, really bloody well.
Yes, you do.
All right. Is there anything else before we get into our final thoughts that anyone wanted to bring up about Together?
Do you guys want to talk about how I feel like, I mean, with a movie like this, you know, with what its story is about, like the practical effects and the CGI is pretty important in it, you know, considering you're fusing two people together, and then all like the moments of where they're trying to not, you know, they're trying to prevent from, you know, being fused together and getting stuck and everything.
When they find the missing hikers, I was squirming. That was possibly the grossest part of the movie, is when they find the hikers.
Yeah, that was a pretty cool practical effect. I'll say that. So that was very reminiscent of the big blob from like The Substance, kind of like yeah. But I mean, I think it was a great blend, as Peter had mentioned. It, I mean, it is a lower budget film, and I think they utilized as much practical that they could. I mean, you had a few digital effects thrown in. I mean, I'm sure obviously the merging of the bodies throughout that whole process, but I think it turned out incredibly well. I mean, I don't think it looks very like fake when it's happening, but maybe I'm just kind of going off kind of like as Peter and Trevor and Dempsey, as you guys saw it yesterday and today, like, did that CGI stand out to you? Because definitely, maybe, like I said, it was a midnight screening, so maybe I was just like, oh, this is good. But I'm just curious, did that CGI stand out as bad, or was it good?
It comes together. I will say Michael Shanks did comes from a visual effects background as well, so he did the effects for this. He drew it out he said that he drew it out like a graphic comic book when he was like storyboarding everything. So he was like, he always had that vision in his head. Obviously, like there is some shots of the fuse at the end where like it obviously, like, you can see CGI has been, like, you know, implemented to enhance it. But overall, like, yeah, I think for what this film, you know, would have cost to what they do, obviously the practical effects are, you know, more successful with, like, when we see like the dog and when we see the missing hikers and things like that. Because when Allison and Dave are merging, obviously you need to have CGI with that. But like the eye, like, I know that the eyeball shot was icky for you, Connor, but I was like, that shot is actually like incredible, seeing it like come together. So I think the special effects hold up incredibly well.
No, I'm sure it was beautifully rendered, that scene, Peter, but I had my eyes partially closed during them. But Anybody else about the closing CGI? Dempsey?
Yeah, so I watched it earlier, and I watched it with a pretty decent crowd. I was shocked, but you would be surprised at how many people were like, oh my God, what the heck!" Like the hair scene that looked crazy. And yes, a large part of it is the fact that at first it's happening in the dark, and then there's that big reveal. But like when you see his throat moving, and when you see them come together, like it's all it was done very well. I don't know, and here's the thing: it's very possible that the cut that was shown at South by Southwest may not have been a finished print. That happens all the time at festivals. That maybe things were probably better rendered for final release. I think I don't know if we spoke about it here or in the chat. We're talking about Chris Stuckman's movie, who's also coming out by Neon.
Shelby Oaks.
Yeah, Shelby Oaks coming out later this year. That they threw money at it to help complete the VFX. So that very well may have happened here too. But like I said, I think it was done very well. And I think rewatching this will be the test to see if it still if it still holds.
Anybody else? All right. If not, let's go ahead and get into our final thoughts on the film. And then we will give a rating. We have 3 different scores with Cinefied. We have a full popcorn, which is a must-see in theaters, a half, which is a maybe go out and see it, or an empty, which is a mistake. Just go ahead and stay away from it. So I'll go ahead and start. I'm going to say it's a full popcorn. It's a must-see. I think it's while it definitely made me squirm and close my eyes from time to time. I think there's no doubt that the casting here is on point. I think that Dave and Allison, I mean, it's just clear that they have such a strong connection on screen, off screen. If you watch interviews with them, it just seems like they're just such a fun couple. And it's cool to see them in this dynamic as well with kind of more of a troubled relationship. And I think that as Peter said, it is a directorial debut. And I think knowing that now, I think it just makes the film even stronger. And I think that it's definitely a film that horror fans and especially body horror fans should go out and see and support. Because another thing, Peter just throwing out all the smart comments this episode that I should be bringing up. It's definitely the opening weekend is what matters with box office these days and films and how they succeed overall. So definitely go and support this. And maybe don't go see Superman for the 3rd time or Fantastic Four for the 3rd time. Maybe go see The Naked Gun or see it together, But I'll go ahead and pass the ball to Trevor. What did you think?
I can definitely tell on this panel. I'm the critic who has the most caveats and problems with this film. That said, I still full recommend Full Bag. It's a blast all around, and definitely really if you're able to go see it out this weekend with a full crowd, do it. It's a wonderful crowd experience. And Brie and Franco are brilliant. Whether Alison Brie from Mad Men or Community, it's always worth checking out for her. I always thought she's an amazing actor, as well as Dave Franco, who I think really goes into new territory here emotionally too that I haven't seen from him. So if anything, it's really worth it for their performances.
Go ahead, Peter.
Yep, gonna continue it with full popcorn recommend. I think saying what Trevor brought up, I think we've seen Dave Franco sort of pivot from the comedy background that I think a lot of people associate him with. So it's great to see something like this, and also continue off of The Rental and things like that, where we sort of saw how good with genre that he can be. So I think bringing him and Allison into this is, really, really stroke of genius casting. It is definitely a big crowd movie, as long as your crowd shut up in the right spots and get off their phones, and this would be amazing. But yeah, because I can say seeing this at at the Sydney Film Festival in. We have a theater here called the State Theater, which is just like this giant, like old school theater that feels like where you'd watch like a stage play. Like it's got like the curtains and this massive stage, and that was packed out, and everyone was like laughing at the right moments, gasping at the right moments. So if you can see this with a full, receptive, appreciative crowd, then absolutely go for it. I also think it's kind of funny that Alison Brie and Dave Franco met at auditions for Scream 4. Like that's what brought them together. Like we sort of, and obviously Dave didn't get it, but Alison did. So yeah, the horror's kind of always been there for them. So I think it's awesome just to see them graduate as actors, as well as being directors and writers in their own field as well. So yeah, I absolutely go see this. And as Connor said, you don't need to see something for the third or fourth time when you have brand new original movies out in the cinema.
And I'll jump in real quick that I do think that. Damn, I lost train of thought. Never mind. Moving on, Kyle.
Well, piggybacking on the whole maybe don't go see a movie like Superman or Fantastic Four or anything a third or fourth time, whatever. Maybe don't even go see it a first time, especially Superman. But I'm gonna put Connor on the spot here a little bit. My review, it's a full popcorn only because Connor refuses to add a fourth rating, which would be a golden popcorn. I would have given it a golden popcorn if I could have, but it's this is one to turn out to the theaters to see. It is a great theatrical experience with an audience, as long as you get a good audience, just like Peter was saying. And yeah, I mean, just love this movie, and I'm excited to go see it and actually pay for it this time myself. So we got to support smaller movies like this, especially when, like we were already talking about, like the debut, like this Michael Shank's debut film is this good, looks this good. These are the kind of films you want to go out to the theater to support.
And before we get to Dempsey's, I did remember what I was going to say. And Peter, you brought up that's the Scream 4 fact. And I was actually unaware of that, that they auditioned for that. But if I think about it, though, at that time, he was most likely also auditioning for 21 Jump Street. And I'm perfectly fine with him being in 21 Jump Street. So going on to Dempsey, what are your final thoughts?
So I think this movie is just not only a testament to, as you guys already kind of touched upon, that there's so many original ideas out there still. And also a testament to Neon, which has become like, I know everybody's always talking up A24 this, A24 that, but I feel like Neon lately, and when I say lately, maybe the last 6 years with what it's done at Cannes, is brilliant with its marketing strategy. Its ability to foster new and exciting voices in the horror genre. And as I also mentioned earlier, like there's still a couple of other horror movies. Chris Duckman, Oz Perkins got some stuff in the can later this year. And I just love what they're doing in the space right now, especially with original ideas. And I cannot say enough how much I love this movie. And in the spirit of one-upsmanship, Kyle, I am going to create my own fourth rating. I'm going to fuse all three popcorn buckets together to create a giant popcorn bucket that I believe serves as the best way to recommend people to see this movie.
All right. Well, so I mean, that's pretty solid that we all gave it a full rating. Definitely go out and see this while it's in theaters. Try supporting it opening weekend. If not opening weekend, opening week, and just keep supporting indie horror. So thank you so much, Trevor, for joining me, Peter, Kyle, and Allison Franco, aka Dempsey. So thanks everybody for listening to the Cinefied podcast. You can find more of our episodes as well as our written reviews on cinefied.com, including our review of Together, written by Kyle Wolf. You can follow us on all major social media platforms to stay up to date with our reviews. Go pop some popcorn, grab a drink, and remember to stay cinefied.